Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dance Teacher Pep Talk. I am your host, Amanda, and I am so glad you are here. This is a space for dance teachers and anyone interested in teaching dance who is looking for motivation and fresh ideas. As teachers, we spend our days motivating and giving pep talks to our students, and now this podcast is a pep talk just for you. We hope that it helps to ignite new ideas and even work through some deep dance related thoughts before you head into the studio. Thank you for your support, and now let's get into today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Dance Teacher Pep Talk. I'm your host, Amanda, and I'm so excited for today's topic. So many of us are heading back to dance at this time of year, and of course, there are also others of us who dance all year long. But this episode is a special back to dance episode and a really good reminder of how to set your mind and soul up for success. Going into a new year, our focus and attention so much of the time is on our students. What are we coming in to bring to our students? What are we offering our students? What new music are we going to be using for our competition pieces this coming season? And so much of that is about people outside of ourselves. And just like I mentioned in the intro episode, burnout and low inspiration really happens when we are constantly giving and giving to others and not taking the time to give back to ourselves. So, this episode is going to be full of tips and ideas of how to create your start of your year in the most successful way that you can. So let's take a look at it from the perspective of a day of dance, heading into a day of dance. So the first thing, we're waking up in the morning. What is the first thing that you tend to do? Are you someone that tends to grab the phone right away? Are you checking your emails? Are you going on Instagram? These are all important questions to ask yourself because right away, when you're doing that, if that is a habit that you have, you're immediately giving your energy to others. You are on other social media, you are in your email inbox reading from others. And if we want to set ourselves up for success, we really need to be our number one person to start our day. Now, I'm going to also be realistic here and set up a few different scenarios because I know there are many of us who also work day jobs and then teach in the evenings. And there are also many of us that have families. So, talking about putting ourselves first can sometimes feel like a far off subject, but we really need to make sure that we're doing that so that we can set ourselves up for the best day ahead. So, if you are somebody who has a day job, making your morning count, especially if you have just a little bit of time. There are so many things you can do in a short amount of time just to give back to yourself, to have your thoughts really collected before you begin your day. Even if it's in your shower, if you find like a shower meditation to do, or if you have 10 minutes to just move in the morning, stretch, listen to music that inspires you, or even just music that calms you. We just want to find that time and space for ourselves. And if you have a little bit more time in your morning, you could use that to really like draw it out, make it about yourself. For me in the morning, it's really important that I get my movement in because when I'm teaching at night, I'm moving, but it's not the same. It's not for me, it's for my class. And so when I wake up in the morning, one of my number one things is that I need to move. And I really listen to my body, I don't push it. So if I'm feeling that I want to take it easy and relax, maybe I'll do some yoga, maybe I'll stretch. If I'm feeling like I need something a little bit more invigorating, maybe I'll do something that gets my heart rate up. And sometimes it even just as simple as taking a walk outside. And we'll get to that as another tip after too. But things like that, just to get you moving. So that's something for me that's really important. I've also found that meditation and journaling is also really helpful for me if I have the time because I'm also a mom. So a lot of my morning relies on when is my daughter waking up. So once she wakes up, things get a little different. But if I have the time in the morning to meditate or journal, I really try to do either one or the other because I find that I'm in a better headspace and I'm in a clearer thought for my day. Something else that I really love, and this can be different for everyone, but there is something so special to me about having a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, something warm in the morning, warm water with lemon, anything that you like. There is something about it for me that is so beyond comforting. And maybe there's something else for you that is a similar comfort, but that it's a way that you start your day. It's kind of like by having it, it's the initiation to your day. Something like that, even, just making it feel special. But more than anything, just making this morning time about you. So again, moving, meditating, journaling, anything that feels really special for you, I think is a great way to start your day. And it can take as much time as you want it to, or as little time as you want it to. And getting into this too, during that time, it's really a time for you to not have outside energy come towards you. So I don't recommend looking at your phone during this time because if a text comes through, you're going to feel like, oh, I need to get back to that right away. And so, another part of making your day count is also setting up boundaries and time blocks around when you will and won't do something in relation to dance. So, how are you going to balance and manage your time? How are you going to balance and manage outside energy? Now, if you have a full day job before teaching, going back, you might have a shorter morning. And maybe you need to get right out the door right after you get ready for the day. And so I'm going to have some tips at the end for you about this next part because this was really eye opening to me once I became a mother. So for me, before I was a mother, getting ready for dance looked a lot different than how it does now. I would spend so much time during my day planning lessons, looking for new music. I would like to go into every class with a brand new playlist every day and every time. And I dedicated so much time to my classes. But in turn, this is where I started getting into my burnout period, and that will be a later episode. But something that motherhood has taught me was how I plan and prepare, what I focus on, and what is important. So I obviously don't have the time anymore to spend the entire day on that evening's lessons or to pre map out my choreography or to make a new playlist every day. So it's about working smarter. I mean, I know we hear that all the time. How can you work more efficiently? Quality over quantity. And so I really find that by setting up my lessons in a way that it kind of like builds off of one another week to week and maybe throwing in a new song into the playlist here and there, that is helpful for me, or having some rotating playlists. So during the day, I don't spend as much time towards my lesson planning, but I always make sure that I do get on the page of what am I going into teach today. So I could even just have one overarching goal for each class, and I sort of just try to build and wing my plans off of that. Again, using my structure that I had already planned previously. And I will say that when I started doing this, I also found that I was teaching more to what was happening in front of me. If I did too much time planning and preparing, sometimes it would be all about the lesson focus and not about what was actually in front of me. And then I'm able to make teachable moments right on the spot. And I think I'm going to make an episode about that too, about how to structure lessons in the most effective way and to give yourself some time back because I think it's so important. We love dance. We're obviously so dedicated and passionate about it, but we need to make sure that it's not all of us because then we could lean into burnout there. So another time that I do things that help me to give back to myself is when I'm heading into the studio. I like to listen to podcasts. I know some people are really big into listening to music, and for me, it just kind of like disconnects me before going into the classroom. I used to like to do choreography in the car, but that has definitely changed for me as of late. And I have found that like self empowerment podcasts or motivational podcasts are really helpful for me. And that's also kind of why I created this podcast, because was hoping that it would help. And then, I always feel like there's that like viral meme that goes around where it's like driving into the studio and it's like the dance teacher's like like having the music on, dancing in the car, and then it's like the ride home and the car is silent. Like I totally know what that is, because it can absolutely be overstimulating after a night of teaching. So maybe on the ride home in silence. Honestly, ideas and inspiration could pop in and out of your head during those silent times. So, looking at that day in the life, I think you can see that there are pockets of time that we can use for ourselves. Making sure that we're eating nourishing meals, that we're drinking water, that we're doing things where we take care of ourselves so that we are able to take care of others. And along with that, too, there are so many other things that can be used during your week and during your days. Make sure that you don't forget about the other outside interests that you have. If you love to read books, if you love to paint, don't allow yourself to give up on those things. I know that there can be busy seasons. I am a competition team coordinator, so there are times of the month or times of the year where like I am not reading at all, and I love to read. So for me, I have to remind myself too, okay, this is important to me. This is time for myself. So take 10 minutes of the day to read if it's important to you. It could be anything, any other hobby, but also just knowing that it's time given back to yourself. I had mentioned earlier too that taking a walk outside in the morning can be really helpful. Taking a walk outside in the day anytime can be really helpful. Sometimes I'll be doing work or answering emails or whatnot at home, and there could be something that sets me off. And taking a walk is always so helpful for me, because in that moment I can just be outside, be with my daughter, be with my dog, and just kind of, take that time to just decompress before moving ahead. And I always feel that that helps me feel better. And all of these suggestions are all things that have been suggested before. It's just a reminder of things that could work. And if you do feel yourself going through a period of burnout, there are so many resources out there to motivate you. We live in a time right now that is incredible in the dance world, because you can literally go online and search for anything. You can go on your Instagram and search for anything. YouTube is huge for inspiring content. You could look at other influencers and dance people. There are some incredible teachers out there that now have platforms on Instagram with suggestions and ideas, and even recommended Spotify playlists if you're looking to change up your music. There is so much out there. I also love taking advantage of any continuing ed courses I can find online, because so much now can be done virtually. And yes, it's great when you can be in person. I think that is awesome. But for me, right now in my life at this time, virtual is what works for me. So if I see a continuing ed course that I'm interested in, I just sign up and I find the time to take it. And it's just really, it always helps me to see new ideas and new perspectives. And other than continuing ed, if you can get into movement classes of any kind, sometimes I find a lot of inspiration from that too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a dance class, though if it is, that's great. But if it's a yoga class, a Pilates class, movement for yourself that feels good, that is for you, is so important. It can inspire new content in your classes, and it can also help you to rediscover your love and your why. Because, yes, you're a dance teacher, but you're also a movement teacher. And so something like that can benefit not only you, but also your students, because that inspiration that you're receiving from your class could spill over into the classes that you then teach. And if in person classes aren't working for you, there are so many options, like I said before, online or even on YouTube, and you can make it work in your schedule that way. Like, giving back to yourself is so important. Your classes will only be as on point and as good as you are. So take care of yourself first and let the inspiration flood through you. And don't worry about it taking too much time. Like, you might say, I'm listening to this podcast. How is this even realistic? It is so realistic if you just allow it to happen, if you let yourself try it. What would maybe surprise you too is during your days, how many times are you spending your free time blocks scrolling on social media or getting caught up in a news story or things like that? And asking yourself, is this really serving you to be looking at this? Is the content inspiring you? And if it is, okay, great. That could be a part of that inspiring content for yourself that day. But if it isn't, it's just taking you away from the things that can really help you. And I know I also mentioned that I would give some tips for people working all day prior to going into the studio. And I will say that when I was working in an elementary school all day and then going into the studio at night, it was much harder. But there are ways to make it work. There are ways to find pockets of time. So for me, during the morning, that was an important time. Anytime I'm in the car, that was an important time for myself, and on my lunch break or any time that I would get time for myself, I would always try to really think about what do I need that day. And for me, for lesson planning and things like that to prepare me to head into the studio, I had to find either maybe I had one day of the week designated if it was like a night off from dance or a day off period where I could use some time to plan, or maybe a little bit of a weekend time to do that, just so I felt ready and prepared and not rushed, or that I was discarding or discounting my love and passion for dance. Because, of course, where it is something we love and are passionate about, we want to spend the time on it. And if you have ideas that have really helped you set your soul and mind up for success, we would love to hear them at Dance Teacher Pep Talk on Instagram. So when we're posting this episode, if you'd like to leave some of your best tips for our dance teachers that are viewing in the comments, I would love that so much. And again, if you have any suggestions for topics that you want to hear on the podcast, you can always send us a direct message at Dance Teacher Pep Talk on Instagram. Thank you all so much for listening to today's episode. I really hope that this information and these ideas will help to start your year off in a very successful tone and something that you can continue through your year no matter how busy the season gets. Because remember, the work will get done, but you need to take care of you first. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.